Good morning. It's good to see everybody here this morning. We're in Proverbs. You can turn to Proverbs 17:22, and we're going to be kind of in the middle of Proverbs today. Today we've talked a whole lot about a vast variety of subjects in Proverbs, and today's subject is the joy of living, and our lesson's going to be different today a little bit. We're going to have some songs in there, and some of the songs I think maybe in the past we might have thought of them as sad maybe, but if we think of them as hope and joy, I think that it helps give us strength living the Christian life. And then we'll get a little more into the lesson. And this first song I'm just going to play off of my phone. It's called Behold Our God. Remember, today's lesson is the joy of living. Let me have a commercial here. So in life, there's joy, happiness, things. And so I'll read kind of the Merriam-Webster definition, and we'll kind of talk about these a little bit. So joy defined The emotion evoked by well-being, success, source or cause of delight. Happiness, a pleasurable or satisfying experience. Fun, what provides amusement or enjoyment. So I think there's definitely a difference in these three things. So when I think of joy in my life, just some things that just come right off the top of my head. I think of, when I became a Christian when I was young, and then when I was in high school, done some things I shouldn't have and went back to camp and got my life back really where it should have been, and just really felt close to God. Really deep with all these young people when we were there. I think I was about 17 or 18. Then met Becca at camp. Remember our kids being born. And a lot of good memories of things that we've done through the year at church that brought joy, or joyful, peaceful feeling to me. Happiness, I think, maybe is part of joy, and maybe fun is part of joy. But I think that they're separate things. So, to me, happiness is kind of like, we've done this our whole lives about it with our kids. Happiness is going to Dollywood, and just that thought of knowing we're going there. And to me, fun is only obtained how? True spiritual joy. How is that obtained? Right relationship with God, which leads to being in fellowship with our Christian brothers and sisters and participating in Christian activities. So what's some things, just off the top of your head, this is not trying to get real deep, some things that's brought joy in your life? Just holler them out. Some things that's brought joy to you in your life.
When I understood the truth of what God wanted me to do outside of anything other than just the Word, and receiving the Word with great joy, Luke 8:13.
When you understood what
When
God
I really
wanted you to do,
Right.
it puts joy in there. What else?
When I understood exactly what God had done for me.
When you understood exactly what God had done for you. What else? True joy. Ken?
Joanna came into my life changed.
When Joanna came into your life changed. True joy. What else?
My family.
Becca, family. She's got a big one. I've got 13 nieces and nephews. Grandkids. Yeah, I left that one out. Sorry, Graham. Grandkids are a great joy. What else?
Seeing joy to me is seeing people being baptized in Christ.
See people being buried in baptism in Christ. Yes, that's great joy. It's just kind of sends a chill up your spine. So there's a difference between joy, happiness, and fun. Joy is deep inside of you, very deep inside of you. And there's things that bring great joy, as we'll talk about in Proverbs. And there's things that, well, let's just read the verse, Proverbs 17:22. A merry heart does good like medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bone. The book of Proverbs is placed in the setting of Solomon, the wise king of Israel, teaching life lessons and imparting wisdom to his son. Solomon is setting his son down and trying to teach him about how he can have a good life now. Solomon spends a lot of time trying to show his son how the decisions he will make in his life will either bring him great joy or great sorrow. And we can all look back at decisions we've made in our life that are good, that are bad, and what they've brought us. Hopefully, we will always try to think about implementing the examples of wisdom in Proverbs. Not only should we consider Proverbs and make applications to ourselves, but we should also think about taking the opportunity to sit down with our children and grandchildren, teaching them the important life lessons. But before we look at Solomon's teachings about joyful living, he reminds us, or reminds his son, and I think this is written for all of us, that there's pain in bad decisions, but there's joy in good decisions. So I've got another song here. And like I said earlier, I want you to think of these songs differently today and why we... That is the wrong song, or I went the wrong way. Let's see. Yep, I believe this is it.
I'm kind of homesick for a country to which where I've never been before. No sad goodbyes. Goodbyes will there be spoken, for time won't matter anymore. Beulah land, I'm longing for you, and someday someday
So talk about joy in living. That is the joy that we want to have someday, is that sweet Beulah lamb. So let's talk a little bit about life and sorrow in life. So there's two types of sorrow in life. Let's look at Proverbs 18:14. Should be right there close. The spirit of a man will sustain him in sickness, but who can bear a broken spirit? Now, Solomon points out that we can endure a lot in life. You know, everybody in here has had struggles. You know, we all go through difficult times or suffering. We have to face all types of trials, problems in life. But the crushing of one's spirit is very difficult to overcome. You know, there's times, I'm sure, that we've been at a low. There's different types of lows, though. But when you're at a spiritual low, when you've sinned or God's out of your life, and, you know, you feel just like there is no hope, that is a bad place to be. And you know, a lot of these, I guess, worldly things we think of, you know, as alcoholism, drug abuse, divorce, sex, when ugly things are said to us, or when we say ugly things to somebody, it hurts. Sin hurts. You know, sin is really glorified. I mean, you turn on TV, video, whatever it is you watch now, and sin is really shown in a bright, wonderful, you know, just happy life, but it's never shown on the other side, what really happens. And that's kind of what we're talking about, staying away from, to stay joyful. You know, and let's look at Proverbs 14:10 right quick and flip over there. The heart knows its own bitterness, and a stranger does not share its joy. So a lot of times, you know, when difficult situations are going on in our life, it's hard for people to understand. And people who are trying to be helpful with cheerful words often simply add to the pain, saying things like, well, it could be worse. You know, that's not a lot of comfort if you've got a broken heart. You know, the point of looking at all the Proverbs is to remind ourselves spiritually that we don't have to go through a lot of these very difficult times that sin brings into one's life. Our decisions that we often do not give much weight or thought to actually can have a tremendous impact on our lives and the lives of others. The ripple of our choices can be greater than we can believe. Decisions that may seem rather small at the time hold the key to a tremendous impact in life. You know, and we can all think back of, you know, what did we do after high school? Did we go to work? Did we go to college? Who did we marry? Where did we live? What kind of work did we do? You know, these all affect our lives, and, you know, we make these decisions. But bad spiritual decisions can, you know, leave us with a broken heart that's hard to put joy into. Let's look at Proverbs 10:28. The hope of the righteous will be gladness, but the expectation of the wicked will perish. So, you know, we've pretty much covered bits and pieces of the book of Solomon. So what are a few themes that you kind of picked up through Solomon in our study, or maybe in your personal study? What's kind of some of the main themes that you
Choosing not to choose caused problems.
choosing not to choose causes problems?
Like, he didn't teach his son. He didn't teach him faults, he just didn't teach him.
So you got to teach. It's not just enough for us to have this knowledge. We need to pass it on to our children, to our grandchildren, to anybody that we can listen. Hopefully our lives will exemplify this. What else?
Happiness is a choice, my choice.
Happiness is a choice. Your choice. I think that's a pretty strong statement coming from somebody with cancer. It's made the choice to be happy.
Well, I've got cancer, but it doesn't have me yet.
Okay, it don't have you. Great attitude. Great attitude. What else? Do what? Life is vanity. The worldly life is.
We worry about a lot of stuff that, what's so earth-shattering today is just a little speed bump or whatever, 10 years from now. It's just, we gotta learn not to sweat small stuff.
Don't sweat the small stuff. So we've talked about this here before. There's things that are urgent, like me paying my bills every month. And there's things that are important, like trying to make sure I live the right Christian life, trying to be at church. Those things are important. They are urgent, but they're important. And the important things will get us to heaven. The urgent things will not. Any other thoughts?
We need to make sure we're following the truth.
We need to make sure we're following the truth.
This book was over there in the library, they're giving away by Glenn Colley, Loose, L-O-S-E, Change. And it talks about things that have changed within the congregations of the churches of Christ. And it's weakened many people to the point that they've left. And that goes back to the truth. But the truth is absolute.
Yeah, it is. And here's kind of the thing. Janita was talking about the church, and this book here talking about the church has kind of been, I guess, loosened up is the word, through the years, and maybe not sticking to the truth. I mean, here's the bottom line really is, we're committing the very... Human nature has not changed since the beginning of time.
Well, Solomon tells us there's nothing new under the sun, so we should not expect something big and different.
I think sin has been so glorified and dressed up and made to look so pretty. And it's fooled so many people, including us at times. I mean, I'm not trying to throw everybody under the bus, but Satan has really dressed up sin and made it look wonderful. And sin destroys life. What does the Bible say the end of sin is? Always?
Destruction.
Death. Yeah, sin hurts. It cuts. It's deep.
And the definition of sin has not changed.
Right. The definition of sin has not changed. And it's sad to see so many people getting misled, so many young people getting misled. And I'll tell you the one thing I've learned from our study of Proverbs, me personally, I have learned I need to study more. I mean, I have not studied like I should study. And this study has taught me that I need to stay in the Bible more, or good Christian literature, and stay in fellowship with good Christian people. You know, in business, they always say, if you want to be successful, hang around what kind of people? Successful people. If if you want to be a successful Christian, what kind of people have you got to hang around? Successful Christians. And we're all here to help each other. We're all here to lift each other up. We're all here to work together. See if I can get my slides figured out here. Let's see. And I think I got them figured out.
Burdened down with sorrows, and we're shunned on every hand, but we are looking for a city built above. Oh, yes, we're looking here and there, looking for a city under where we'll never die, never end up there. The sainted millions, yes, with all the millions, we will never say goodbye. Say goodbye, yes, and when we gather there, we'll meet our Savior, Christ our Savior, glory, and we know we'll make our loved ones friends and all our loved ones. Now we pray thee quickly come, O Holy Spirit, pray thee come, O Spirit, come, O come, only we call our hopes renewed. Here in disappointment often we so sadly roam, and earthly friends no longer speak one word of love. Truly we have found contentment. Jesus promised us a home, so we are looking for a city built above. Yes, we're looking here and there, looking for a city yonder where we'll never die, we'll never end up there. The sainted millions, yes, with all the millions, we will never say goodbye. Say goodbye, no, never, yes, and when we gather there, we'll meet our Savior, Christ our Savior, glory, and we know we'll make our loved ones friends and all our loved ones. Now we pray thee quickly come, O Holy Spirit, pray thee come, O Spirit, come, O come, only we call our hopes renewed. In this land of dangers, we are going here and there. We're simply trusting in the blessed Savior's love and mercy. Though we may be strangers living in this world of care, we're always looking for a city built above. Oh, yes, we're looking here and there, looking for a city yonder where we'll never die, we'll never end up there with all the sainted, yes, with all the millions, we will never say goodbye. Say goodbye, Lord, never, yes, and when we gather there, we'll meet our Savior, Christ our Savior, glory, and we know we'll meet our loved ones, friends and all our loved ones. Now we pray thee quickly come, O Holy Spirit, pray thee come, O Spirit, come, O come, only we call our hopes renewed.
I like singing better than I do preaching. I think, the singing, lights up our whole brain. And so I was going through, working on the lesson, I was like, I think these Psalms can say a lot of this, talking about joy and, and heaven and the future, and why we have hope and why there's a better life. The Proverbs have been full of admonitions to make wise decisions and plans. Let's look at Proverbs 24:27. Prepare your outside work, make it fit for yourself in the field, and afterward build your house. Basically, it's not talking about building a physical house here. Solomon's trying to teach his son and us about life planning. You can look at Proverbs 14:1. It says, every wise woman builds her house, but the foolish pull it down with their hands. So life has a lot to throw at us, and a lot of times, or sometimes, it's unexpected. So to be prepared for life, spiritually, well, not just spiritually, anyway, what do we got to do to be prepared in life? We're doing part of it here this morning. What are some things that we got to do to be prepared spiritually to deal with life? Got to be grounded, first of all, don't we? Grounded in what?
Truth.
The truth. We got to be grounded in the truth. What else?
We have to do something about it.
We have to do something about it. What else?
Better be ready to fight Satan.
Better be ready to fight Satan. Tim mentioned Wednesday night class about Satan. Get behind me. I did that this morning. He was trying to distract me from finishing up some things. So we have to tell Satan sometimes. We've got to be aware that Satan's there. I think a lot of times people, especially in the world now, some in the church or a lot in the church places, that they're not really aware of what sin is. I guess here's the big thing to me about we as Christians. Is being a Christian a life or an act? It's a life. There's a lot of phonies out there in the world, isn't there? I mean, you can turn the TV on this morning and, what do they want? Primarily, they want your money. Do we ever read in the Bible where Jesus, all he did was just raise money? No. It's where Jesus taught people. What did he do? He done two things. He either fed them or what? Healed them. He took care of their needs. And that is true Christianity, taking care of people's needs. It's Proverbs 24:3 and 4. Through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. And what are those riches in this verse? Is family, Christian friends. It's not big screen TVs, is it? That's not what it's talking about. I started to say VCRs, but I guess we got rid of ours about 10 years ago. I remember that was pretty big stuff back in the day. But all that stuff is just stuff. It really don't matter. It's about our families and our friends and our loved ones, people that we're around. So when we're maybe coaching or working with our young people, most of us have been through a lot of life, and wisdom, knowledge, and understanding are required to build a good home for yourself, your spouse, and your children, or to pass on to your children and grandchildren. If we want our home to be full of precious, pleasant treasures, then proper planning and wisdom is needed. Do not put things out of order. Be thoughtful about your life decisions. Decide carefully about your work, your home, your marriage, your family, your location. These decisions will have a major impact on your life. Look at Proverbs 19:2 right quick. 19:2. Also, it is not good for a soul to be without knowledge, and he sins who hastens with his feet. So we need to really think things through as God's people. We need to really think about them. And you know, when we first started this class, I gave several examples, I think, of foolish things that I done when I was young. And, you know, fortunately I was surrounded by a lot of good people that, you know, helped with that. And that's what part of what Solomon is saying here is, you know, surround yourself with good people. And, you know, when we get down, we got somebody to pick us up. And hopefully we never get into this dark pit of sin, but if we do, you know, this is the only place that can help us. All of us want to have a good life now. All of us are children, grandchildren, to have a better life than we had for ourselves. God wants those things for us as our children and grandchildren as well. That's why God has given us His Word to teach us how to have the good life. Society has led us astray into believing that we will have joy in all these life pursuits. And when I think of that, I think of so often, I guess maybe we call it the Hollywood scene in our modern day world compared to Solomon's world, where people have every physical thing that you can have. And what typically happens in most of those people's lives? They're not happy. No, I mean, can't take enough drugs, can't drink enough alcohol, can't have enough sexual relations. I mean, they just can't get enough of that, because until you fill what hole in your life, you can never have joy. What is that hole? Your spiritual hole, your spiritual soul. You have to fill that to be happy in life. We're going to have to close, but I just want to say real quick, I've really enjoyed this study, and I hope we can do a Proverbs 2 maybe in the winter or this time next year. And I've really enjoyed hearing all your comments. I really learned a lot from you, and I really enjoyed this study of Proverbs. I've always, tried to read Proverbs quite a bit, but Ken's taught a lot of classes, and some more of you in here have. When you have to study for the class, you have to kind of dig in a little more. So I hope you will continue your study of Proverbs, and thank you for being here, and thank you for being in the class.
In need of grace, in need of love, in need of mercy raining down from high above, in need of strength, in need of peace, in need of things that only you can give to me. In need of Christ, the perfect Lamb, my refuge strong, the great I am. This is my song, my humble plea. I am your child, I am in need. In need of grace, in need of love, in need of mercy raining down from high above, in need of strength, in need of peace, in need of things song.